Hey, it's Norm from Testa. Welcome to episode 2 of our new building an arcade cabinet. I'm joined by John Duncan. You're helping out in Adam's shop for this whole week. We're gonna just try to build an arcade cabinet. Thanks for coming, John.
Sure, this sounds like a really fun project.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and your expertise could not be more helpful because we're not sure what we're doing exactly. I've done some light cuts already, got some holes. Last time I was here, Adam helped me cut some of the recess holes here with some Forster bits.
Right.
Because we want to make sure those arcade buttons can sit in here and screw in. We're going to do more of those, which hopefully is not too difficult. We're going to have to cut today a hole for the trackball.
Okay.
But the big thing is the top. I think that's what we should start with today, the top of the cabinet. Now I have this sheet of 3/4 inch plywood, and an arcade cabinet has curved edges on the outside,
right,
and also a hole in the middle. Not something I can do with the table saw, which is what I did to cut the size of these.
Right, got to cut curves.
Yeah, got to cut curves, and we don't really have any stencil. Like I couldn't print out, on.
Okay, well that eliminates the router as
exactly. So what is the best option for one, cutting the curves around here? We have an idea of how much clearance we'll need, and the rounding, and then also what's the best option for cutting that hole?
Well, for the outside of it, your best option is going to be the bandsaw. It's going to give you a nice clean cut, because it's out on an exposed edge, and it allows you to do curves. We might have to follow it up with some sanding just to kind of really smooth it all out, but that's going to be your best option for that. Now, for the inner hole, the bandsaw, unfortunately, you can't kind of put it into the middle of it because it's a solid band. So we have to use a jigsaw. That's going to leave a little bit of a rougher hole because the saw, as it moves up and down on the upstroke, it's going to tear out a little bit of wood, which doesn't give us as clean a hole, but fortunately the bezel of the TV monitor is going to help hide that.
Yeah, so we have the monitor, which we talked about last time here. It's a 19-inch CRT with some mounting brackets here, and basically this monitor, it's really heavy, is going to sit on top through the hole. So we'll do some measurements, and then this bezel, which I found online, you can buy it for like $15 or $20, will fit on top there, which will hide the rough edges.
Right.
Okay.
Hides all our mistakes.
Awesome, hides the crimes. So that's one big challenge. And then another challenge, which we'll hopefully finish today, is getting these side panels. So to illustrate, this fits on the side between the control panels, like right here. Right there.
There you go.
And we'll need 6 of these, which is kind of like, we have the stencil here printed out and some measurements, but we want them all to be exactly the same.
Right. So again, that's a good job for the bandsaw. We could probably do the top and bottom cut and this side, because those are all perpendicular to one of those. We can do those on the table saw, but then for the curve cut that goes around the edge here, we're going to want to do that on the bandsaw.
Okay.
And what we can do is we can cut all the pieces, stack them all together, and then run them through the bandsaw together so that they all match. Or at least we can do them in pairs depending on how much can fit in the bandsaw.
Okay.
But that way we can have them all match.
Right, and in pairs that makes sense for,
Right.
For the
that way you don't have one on one side that's a little bit different than the other one.
All right, I'm excited to get started. So let's tackle this table first and let's get to building.
Okay, sounds great. Right.
Cut those. I think we have the bottoms already.
Okay.
We need to cut something for the front. We never did that. Right. So the keyboard panel on this side is that.
Okay. And then it has the side plates are on the outside.
Side plates on the outside, which will be 3/4.
Okay. So that will be the size of our cutout.
All right, so we've outlined what we want to do for the cuts for the top board. Originally, I thought about using some French curves around the edge, but it turns out it's easier just to figure out the radius and use a compass.
Right, because then when they cut the glass top, it'll match.
Exactly. You
as
can
close
tell
as
the
possible.
glassmaker, I want a 4-inch radius here.
Yeah, trying to give them a French curve, they might go,
what's that? 1-inch curve on the inside. We figure out the spacing for the sides. We don't need a hole cut out on the long side because there's going to be plenty of clearance.
Yeah, there's only about a 2-inch overlap, 2-inch lip
Exactly.
on that, so they should be able to see the keys.
And then we cut a hole in the center. That's the size of the interior of the bezel. And that's all being covered. And I think it's ready to get this cut.
Yeah, let's go to the bandsaw.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, John, here we are at Adam's bandsaw. So how do we use this?
Well, a bandsaw basically works. It's a toothed belt that goes all the way around here, and it's exposed right here. So this is the danger zone. You don't want to stick your hands in like I just did. But of course, it's turned off, so it's relatively safe. Still sharp. It has an adjustable depth so that you can cut thicker or thinner materials.
Okay.
You want to get it a little bit close to your material because the more blade that's exposed, the more it'll flex, and so you might get a little bit of deflection when you're cutting something. So you don't want to necessarily have it all the way up here if you're cutting something thin.
And this is a big piece of wood, so does that just lay on here and you're just gonna...
Yeah, and this also has an adjustable table so that you can adjust if you needed to cut an angle on something. But we're just going to use it in a perpendicular fashion, so we'll just keep it the way it is. Yeah, it is a little bit of a big piece of wood, so it'll be handy to have two of us. That way one person can help support the wood while the other one's guiding it through the saw.
I volunteer to support the wood.
All right. And then, of course, safety glasses, because we need our eyes.
All right, John, so you use the bandsaw to cut the edge here, but we didn't cut all the way around because there wasn't enough clearance.
Right. So we'll finish that up with the jigsaw.
Okay.
But then also we want to do the center cut, and so we'll be using the jigsaw for that. But to get the saw blade in there, we're just going to pre-drill a hole so that the saw blade can get in there. And sometimes it's nice to pre-drill all four corners, so that way the saw can make the turn at each corner without having to kind of go back and forth. And
when you're cutting a big hole in a piece of wood like this, is the jigsaw usually the best way to cut that out, or could you use like a router? Just route the edge?
You could use a router as well, but like with this one, it's nice because it's a rectangle. We could just use a router, but you'd have to set up some sort of a template, some sort of stops to keep the router from just going right off the side or something like that.
So jigsaw it is.
But for this one, it's nice and easy. It's a jigsaw. It's gonna the bezel's gonna hide any tear out or anything like that too, so it'll make it easier.
Cool. The prettiest straight line, but
very nice.
It'll do.
And now we have an opening. Woo! Woohoo!
All right, John, that looks fantastic. We will route the edges, smooth them out in a little bit, but the next big challenge is getting these side pieces.
Right.
The side panels for the control panels. We have the stencil here, and kind of like a mock-up in cardboard, and we want 6 of these. Bandsaw?
Bandsaw would be a good way to start. We can do the first 3 sides with the table saw.
Okay.
So I think that would be a nice way. That way, that everything's all perpendicular and straight, and then we'll do all the fancy stuff with the bandsaw.
As it comes off, just let it slide off and fall over.
It would be good if you helped support the large piece. Okay. The smaller piece I can support and then lift out.
Okay. Do you want to use a push stick for it?
There's enough room for my hand. If it was closer to the thing, I would. Because the saw removes about 1/8 of an inch of material. If we tried to get 8 or 6 pieces that are 8 inches, our last piece is going to be
cut by
6/8 or 5/8 small.
That matched up. There.
There you go.
There.
Yay! The thing is, if you put a clamp on it, and the clamp's sitting underneath there, and it's going to sit sideways. You want it to sit flat. There's other thing you could wrap it with tape. Yeah. So this part, yeah. So this will support it while we cut all the rest of the bits off. Alrighty. So for some of these really tight radiuses, you can do a thing called nibbling, because it might not want to make the radius. So you just kind of keep coming back at it, cut off a little bit more until it makes it all the way around. Then we can clean it up on the sander. And there we have 2 identical pieces.
All right, John, we got 2 of the big pieces done, the top piece and these side panels, which we have as a matching pair.
That's right.
We're gonna then route and sand, smooth out the edges, and then finish the woodworking in the next episode and prep for assembly.
Cool.
Awesome. So that's it for today's episode for our arcade cabinet build. Thank you so much, Tested Premium members, for bringing this series onto YouTube and for everyone to watch. Come back next week when we'll have our next episode and we'll get ready to bring this thing to life.
Great.
See you guys next time. Bye.